What's up, Group Coach Nation? Got Ed Temple with us today. All right, this is a really, really interesting discussion. I am super stoked about this. AI, right? It's a thing. And there's so many industries that AI is really, really impacting. I can't think of many that it's actually not in a really great way and maybe sometimes in a scary way. So we're here to talk about AI and coaching. The reason I've asked Ed on here is Ed and I've known each other for a while. Ed, were we hanging out in Calgary this summer? Is that where it was?
We were, yeah.
Yeah. Ed's a Calgarian. I'm just a nomad, so I was just traveling through. But we were talking AI, and Ed's got a book, like written a book about it, talks a ton about it, writes a ton about it, speaks a lot out there on it, and kind of really cool for us in the discussion today. Also, building an app. The app's already on the Apple Store, and it's in its like early beta stages. That's actually using AI in the coaching space. Now, I don't know, Ed. I really don't think that AI can become a coach, consultant, therapist, counselor, all those roles that are just so human to human. I think they're still new. Obviously, today, that's not where it's at. But I know that the suggestions and the learning and the structure and ideas that AI can come up with, a lot like using ChatGPT or something like that to write, is just so helpful. It gets you so far down the road as a professional using a tool. That's just my thoughts. But man, I haven't gone down this rabbit hole like you have. Where do you think all this goes? Let's just go wherever you want to with this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the future's very exciting with where it could go. And I know for many, it also can be a little bit scary. And I think when it was emerging, it's been around for a long time, decades. I have some colleagues that have been working in the space for a long time. And so I'm very new to it, like most of us are. But I know when it emerged right away, I thought, okay, this is very disruptive. Like, what does this mean to what I do as a coach? What about AI can do the things that I already do? And so my reaction to that was to really run towards it, to go, what will the impact be? Because I wanted to learn, from it. And that's been a really great journey just around learning what it is. And I think you're right. Like AI, I don't believe AI will replace coaching, but it can do a lot of those things. And so for me, the focus of attention became, what are the elements of what it cannot do? And then how do I, as a coach, become more focused on those elements? Because I think that's the thing that really sets me apart, and not worry about trying to compete with the things that it does do, because it can outshine us in many ways around a variety of ways that it can augment what we do and really enhance and help it. But you're right. There's a portion of what we do that it just can't do. And so for us, I think that's what really becomes the differentiator for what we should be focusing on as coaches.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've written a book on coaching, and I mean you're a very established and very connected coach. Your accolades, just the level of coaching certifications and what the coaching you've done in corporate, individual, you're all over the place. That's really great. I really appreciate you speaking to this topic, because it's not just, by the way, at Group Coach Nation, obviously most of you out there know we talk about group coaching programs constantly. I think this is just so relevant to this conversation, not specifically group coaching, but just coaching in general. So your book, your book website is the Leader as Coach, the leaderascoach.co for those of you listening, and the leaderascoach.co. And if you go there, I've got that pulled up right now. There's the book, and there is even more intriguing, maybe for this conversation, there's the website on the screen, is this app that you're putting together. And it's on the Apple Store and Android, right?
Yep.
Talk about this app. Like, why are you going down this path? Because that's a freaking ton of work, way more than just putting a book together. And it's not like a how-to coaching app, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So a big reason why I went down this road is a lot of what I do is coach training, right? So for the last 10 years, I've taken the coaching skills. I'm the chair of a program that's an ICF accredited program to train leaders how to coach, so they could then become external coaches like I am, working with people one-on-one, in teams, in groups, a lot of, connected with what you're doing, Chris, as well. And then what I find is a lot of leaders who really, coaching is such an important skill. And for coaches who are out there, I find 3 or 4 conversations into a coaching engagement, inevitably, the person I'm working with will make a comment around, I should probably do more of what you do. I should ask better questions. I should listen better. I should do more of that. So that's what the book is all about, is the leader as coach, is helping leaders take more of a coach approach to what they do. It's not going to be all of what they do, and it's not meant to replace what I do, but really making coaching something that's the key leadership skill of the future. There's lots of things that leaders need to do. I think taking a coach approach in meetings, in one-on-ones, in the focus of development of people, that's such an important area. And so the app is a tool that helps train people on how to coach. And the big feature of it is it has an AI coach called Enzo. It will coach you. And what I find from my learners who are learning coaching skills is their comments are, oh, I see what it's doing. I see it. I feel the impact of coaching. I get what these non-directive approach does to me as I try to think through problems. And so what it is a training tool. It's not meant to replace what I do, because again, we can talk more about, there's these special elements of what a human coach and a human leader brings that AI will never replace. It can replace a lot of things, but it's those key elements that it can't replace that we really need to focus on as leaders and as coaches.
So the app is like having aha moments of, oh, I see where it's going there. That's a good idea. I could emulate that or use that or whatever. Talk about what are the pieces that you think AI can replace and AI can't replace in this coaching space?
Yeah, so there's some good research that's being done with this. And one of the things that I've been reading about with some of the researchers is they're saying when there's a clear goal for coaching, when you have a client that comes in and says, here's what I want from this coaching conversation, the research is showing in that kind of coaching, AI does as good as, and now better than humans. So when you have a clear goal. So I would say if you're a coach and you find yourself going through a pattern, you find yourself asking the same questions, you find yourself following a model. Most of us have learned some sort of model when we went through coach training. Grow model is the ubiquitous model that's out there since the 90s. There's lots of different good models. I have my own. That's what's in my book. But as soon as you find yourself repeating things and doing things routinely, you have to know that's something AI can do as good as you, but better. It can follow up with administration things. It can prompt. It can do all those things that humans forget, lose track of, don't have the capacity to do. And so when I started to focus on that, I realized, okay, so that's what AI can do. We don't need to be threatened by that. We can utilize that. We can leverage that. But then there's elements in like what you talked about earlier, when we have a coaching conversation or a leader has a conversation with somebody in person or virtual, there's certain elements there that AI is not equipped to and never will be equipped to do that we do as coaches and as humans and as leaders.
And that's the, like, I mean, I hear what you're saying. For instance, I've got a workout app on my phone and a meal plan app on my phone. And I mean, it's got, when you get in there, it's got all these questions of who are you? What are you trying to accomplish? Blah, blah, blah. So by the time you get done answering all its questions, it knows where to take you. It's very structured. But if I show up with just, I'm feeling empty and I don't know where to go in life, I can see, I mean, that's got to be a human to walk you through whatever. And I'm just using that as an example, but it's not as specific as I have this goal for a workout or running a race or whatever. Yeah.
And often, like, for example, in the workout, there's things that hold us back from those things. Those are all internal things that are wrapped up in identity, beliefs, values, barriers. And so what I would say is, like, there's lots of people talking about this, but I boiled down to 3 elements what I think AI doesn't replace, which is where I think as coaches, we ought to be focusing more attention to in our practice. So the first one's really simple one, basic. Everybody knows it. It's connection. It's our ability to connect with people that we actually change through a human-to-human connection. It's how our brains are. We are hives. Our brains are hives, and they change in as we interact. You think of growing up. We developed our identity. We became who we were through our interactions with our parents, our siblings, and then eventually into like relatives and school, and then eventually friends, teachers, and others. And now in our workplaces, we are forming that through that. And so the first thing that we can do, and I just pay way more attention to this now, is my ability to connect with people, to be present. Even as you shared that issue with me, to me, one of my biggest, most valuable ways of responding is in silence. to be fully present and let you fully express yourself. AI can maybe mimic that, but it can't do that because it doesn't have the human element. So the second thing is about identity and identifying, right? Because as you go through that struggle, there's a part of me as I've gone through my own human struggles, I can relate to you. Your journey is not my journey, but I can relate to the fact that I have a journey. And some people might be familiar with this work, and I really lean on this, is Joseph Campbell's work on the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is the idea that it's an archetype of every culture, every religion comes back to this notion that we are all on a hero's journey. We are becoming the heroes of our story. That's about our identity. Again, AI can mimic it and ask questions about it, but it has no identity. It's predictability around tokens and language. It's a large language model, right? So what it's doing is it's mimicking what we as humans experience. When I use words, it's an expression of my values, my beliefs, my identity. When an LLM, when ChatGPT uses words, it's not connected to any of those things. It's predicting around what would come next in a conversation. So again, it's a fabrication and it's valuable and helpful, but it's not the same thing between you and I. And so in coaching, I know I am here in service to help you become the hero of your journey. And part of it is I'm figuring out how to become the hero of my journey. And so that's where we can relate and connect. And that's part of that becoming that happens in coaching, which again, AI is it's not equipped to do it. The third thing I'd say is this is a fancy word, so I don't know if it's the right word, but it's this a notion of transcendence. Maybe more accessible would be elevation. And if you think of professional coaching in the corporate business world, it's the idea of climbing the ladder. People want to become something more. They want to grow into something more. They want to accomplish more. They have ambition. That's about transcending who we are, putting the pieces of our life together to become something more than we are today or who we were in the past. I think spirituality is a great expression of that as well, is reaching out and touching something beyond ourselves. I think that's an innate human thing that we have, which again, AI has no concept of that. It doesn't have ambition, it has what we program it. It's a great tool. But that idea of elevating into something more, becoming something more. And so it's often expressed in our business, in our work lives, around attaining something more, but it's expressed at all sorts of other areas of our lives as well. Our families, our faith, other communities that we are about building something that's greater than just about ourselves. You know, people talk about it later in their life through words like legacy and succession. Like when they leave, what are they going to leave behind? And that becomes more and more important the older you get. And again, I think that's another area that AI just has no concept of. So I know when I'm coaching somebody on a problem, on a goal, and some sort of issue, I got to manage a project, I got difficult people. I always know that's more about us connecting and about who this says they are and who they're wanting to become through some sort of work issue, some sort of professional issue. And so that's where, to me, that's where we as coaches need to become really refined and brilliant and kind of go on our own journey around those in order to best serve and help others. And that's the thing that I think really sets us apart from AI and always will set us apart.
I love that. We hope AI doesn't get into transcendence and elevation. That'd be that's all the sci-fi movies out there, right? Okay.
Well, and that's the AI tool is just to trick us. It can only mimic and try those things. And there's a lot of dangers and cautions we need to be aware of with that when you think of bots and different things that it's doing. But that's a big part of like AI and coaching ethics is always to be clear with what is being used, what is behind the technology that you're using. And there's a lot of important people working on that. And I think that's important for us to have on the radar as well.
How are you using AI today as a coach? Like, what is your weekly, monthly, daily practice of AI? Like, when do you tap into it and say, oh, that's going to be helpful, I'm going to use this tool?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple things. As a coach trainer, my participants use it. They use the app, and my instructions to them is to get coached by it once a week. Let it coach you. So what you're doing is you're learning the model. You're experiencing what coaching does for you. So you are better equipped as a coach and a leader to do that more with your people. It's not meant to replace a human connection. And one of the other things that's coming out through research, specifically with younger people, high school and in university, people who use an AI coach have a greater awareness and a greater desire to connect with a human. And that's also one of those things is that there's this undertow of technology actually has the opportunity to drive us back to a need and a hunger and desire for human connection.
Hmm.
I think we have to be very wary and careful of our relationship with technology, because as it becomes ubiquitous and overcoming everything, we are missing something in the sense of human connection. So we have to kind of hold it carefully to say this isn't meant to replace human connection. And I think there is obviously lots of examples of where it is causing isolation and causing us to move away from human relationships. My desire is to actually do the opposite with it. So one is it as a training tool. Just use it as a training tool. I will pull it out regularly as well, just for myself to say, hey, I got a problem I'm working on. Somebody taking a coach approach, a non-directive approach and following the model adds value all the time. And so to me, it's not about the exclusivity of coaching. It's about the availability of coaching and way more coaching. And that's part of my belief around the leaders coach is I think it shouldn't be restricted to the C-suite or to executives. I think the human interpersonal one-on-one coaching will continue to be really restricted there because the ROI on it is higher. It really justifies it. Also with business owners and a variety of other people. But I think for like mid-level, lower level managers, and this tool is really meant for first-time leaders of people. It's when you're in your mid-20s and suddenly you're really good at what you do technically, and they're like, okay, you're going to oversee these 3 people now. And now the problem is like, oh, okay, well, I'm good at doing the work, but now I have to manage people, and people's a whole different issue. That's where coaching really brings the value. And I think it's about making it more accessible to people. So as a training tool, I recommend it all the time. The next version of the app will journal everything that's happening in coaching, capture it for you, send it to your leader or to your coach, and will be an accountability tool around doing all those things that we would tell people or we instruct people to do, that it's going to be automated through that because it's intelligent and understands. It's all been programmed or algorithmed in around what coaching should do around accountability, nudges, follow-up, and those kinds of things that are important aspects of coaching.
This is so fascinating.
Yeah, and then for myself, I just use it for whenever a challenge comes up. I use ChatGPT and other things like that. I used it for a variety of different issues. It does speed things up. It doesn't replace it though. Like it kind of gets you 80% of the way there. I have a proposal for a new client. A lot of people probably do this. You go in and say, I have a proposal. You give it all the prompting, all these things. I've written 100 proposals before. This will spit something out where I'll just input other proposals I've done and say, use this, and here's what I want. In the end, it's probably 80, 90% there. And then I rework it and kind of make it my own. And that's, I think, a way that a lot of people are just practically using it these days.
I freaking love this. Okay, I know we got to go soon, but like everybody listening, watching the version of this, the leader, let me just pop the website up here again. theleaderascoach.co. theleaderascoach.co. If you're listening, theleaderascoach.co. So I'm on the website right now. His book is there. Awesome. Speaking and training stuff is there. And then there's a menu up the top. The app is there as well. You can download it, Android, Apple, whatever you want. Yeah. Like, man, thanks you. Like, truly, thanks for putting this together. I know the app development space is so complicated and time consuming, especially when you're doing something new tech wise. This is really cool. Like, you're on that leading edge of like, okay, we're all starting to experiment with this. And I really love this tool. I'm going to start like figuring out and poking around there and trying things out. This is really, really cool. I can't wait for the next version to come up too. So I guess if I already have the app, I get the next version, you'll update it automatically. I'm good to go. I'll have to go to a new place. Yes. And I'll have a list of your email. So I'll be sending it out, the update again. And this is right now is a tech demo. So it's pretty crude. You'll be able to experience Enzo. It does the coaching. It does it really well. I will say of like the 10 AI coaches that I've used out there, they don't take a non-directive approach. Like plain and simple, what they are is they are fine-tuned Google machines. They ask you 2-3 questions, maybe 5 or 6, and then they're giving you resources. Mine follows a coaching model right through it. If you want a resource, just tell it. Say, just tell me what I should do with this. It'll give you a number of points, and then it'll still ask you an open question. It'll keep coaching you towards the end. The next version is going to be much more intelligent in the sense of logging through a journal, tracking things, allowing you to create a coaching plan, and doing a lot of things so that it's actually meant that coaches can use it with their clients. And they will then have, and that's the thing is if you're a coach, realizing that if they are having a coaching conversation every week and only meeting with you once a month, what it does is it elevates the conversation with you differently. They bring something different to you as a human connection because they know they can get lots of value out of that. The AI coach that could do the basic stuff, right? I need a plan for this. I need some action steps. I have a clear goal here. The human element will elevate. It'll also help your clients become more coachable. That's a big thing I find is that you can be a great coach and do all the coaching. And if you're like me, half the challenge is the person doesn't understand what coaching is, doesn't know how to show up, and doesn't know how to utilize coaching. So you also have to be training in a sense
what coaching is and how they should be engaging. And I find it's always about building that relationship, but it takes some time to help people with their coachability. So over like 10 months, people can become more coachable as they understand more and they learn how to engage with a coach. And you've probably had this problem. I've had this problem. Sometimes people don't get it. 3 or 4 sessions in, they're having a hard time because they're still expecting, well, aren't you going to just tell me some answers and give me some
what
feedback?
to do? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're looking for. And that's kind of, it's about changing those expectations around how to get value out of a coaching relationship.
Love it. Ed, thanks. Truly, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for recentering us back as coaches. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody what to do. If they're buying a process, a step ABC process from you, then teach them what to do. But that's teaching versus coaching.
Yeah.
No right or wrong, but there's a place for each. So thanks for bringing us back to Central on coaching. Thanks for an amazing tool. Again, the leaderascoach.co is where you can find the app. The app is also on the app and Apple Store and the
Android.
The others, the Android store, the other people. And that's the app is called Sprout. Is that correct?
Yep. Coach with Sprout is where you'll find it.
Yeah. Okay.
And Sprout's the model. So you'll have the model in it. It's a training tool. You'll kind of see it how a person learning coaching would utilize this. I would just say if you don't have access to coach, it puts one in your hands that you can have regular coaching conversations. To me, the future is all about way more coaching. Right. And references around like, in the 90s, there was a Deep Blue, the chess master, right? Beat the human. And people in some ways thought, oh, is that the end of chess? And what happened was the opposite. It blew chess up. Chess.com has like 11 million users a day on it or something like that. It made it available and accessible to everyone. That's where I think the future of coaching is going, is that AI is not going to replace it or make it shrink. It's going to make it really just explode, that it's something that everybody has access to and they see the value of it much more so than they do right now.
Yeah. Freaking love it. All right, everybody. We always say do work, get results here. And yes, do the work, get the results, but do the right work. And that's what these conversations are all geared around, is just helping you figure out what do you need to do next. Thank you for a really good conversation about AI, because it's happening. It's happening right in front of us. May as well dive in and figure it out. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Chris.
Dude, heck yeah. It's so good to see you again, too.
Good to see you, too.
Everybody, if we did not talk group coaching on this show, go to another episode. We usually talk about group coaching and break down all those models, but come on, we can't ignore the AI thing. So thanks for being here. Figure it out, folks. Go to this resource. Again, I'll just put it on the screen one more time. theleaderascoach.co. Tons of resources there for you, as not just a coach and a leader, but also in the AI space too. So Ed, everybody else, as always, do the work, get the results. Bye, y'all.